Alright, I'm gonna get a video out of the way here that a lot of guys have been asking for like the last 2 years, and I just never got a chance to do it because I kept forgetting. Sorry if it's a little dark. Doing it up here in the barn, and I got both doors open trying to get as much light in here as I can, but we don't have power brought back into this barn yet since we had the service cut to it to tear the house down. But anyway, this is kind of a project that got out of hand, and a little backstory on it first before we get down to how we built it. So back when I was still farming with them two guys I started out with, we were running 2 combines. We had my 525 and a John Deere 3300, and we had more than one field where we could just barely make it down to one end and get a full hopper. So we had 2 options: either we deadhead all the way down to run all the way down the field and deadhead back to the truck, or one of the guys that I farmed with bought a John Deere Model 68 feed wagon at an auction, and we put it up on what were those, 16.926s, I think, or maybe they were 14.926s. Either way, we put it up on some bigger tires to get it to stand up a little bit. And whoever bought that thing brand new, because any of you guys have ever seen a John Deere 68 auger wagon, they're not really that big. The main hopper on them is probably only about 50 bushel. But whoever ordered this thing new ordered it with double hopper extensions on it, so that got it up. It'd hold probably 110 bushel-ish. It was about the size of this cart here. And that thing worked good, except for one thing: is that little 6-inch unloading auger would take like 20 minutes to unload it. And that was running a good half throttle on the tractor we had it on. You didn't dare run it wide open because that poor gearbox in that thing made it sound like hell running it wide open. But so Dad, being the tinkerer that he is, was watching us run that. He started looking at it. He's like, well, we could do this and this and this and this, and we could get a bigger auger on it, do this, 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 and this, and you'd probably make an actual grain cart out of it. And they hemmed and they hawed about it, and the guy that the grain cart belonged to kind of hemmed and hawed a little too long for Dad, I guess. And that would have been my freshman year of college. And one weekend I came home and there was a little Trans-O-Mix feed wagon sitting down in the driveway. Got in the house and asked Dad, what the hell's that wagon, or what the hell's that feed wagon for? He goes, well, I'm going to build a grain cart out of it. All right. So basically that's what we started with. The main lower hopper here is what that is a Trans-O-Mix feed wagon. And so the first thing we had to do was on every feed wagon, unload augers off the back of it. So we flipped the box around and made it drive through the front, because there's a big opening right here where the gearbox was bolted for the auger and all that crap. So that made for a good bearing, or front bearing holder, and where the drive shaft goes through and all that. So the box is actually backwards to what it was on the feed wagon. So did that, and then the axle is off of a 150 bushel New Idea manure spreader that Dad bought. It was junk, like no wood on it. The metal was half rotted. Basically, he just bought it for the axle. So it's got a New Idea manure spreader axle underneath it, Trans-O-Mix box. It had the original feed wagon. It had one set of extensions on it, which were this exact size. These are an exact copy of the original extensions. They're just made out of a heavier gauge tin. And then we added that second set of extensions and angled them to make it look like what an actual grain cart would look like. The rims on it are actually custom made. Well, custom made. The rims themselves we got on Craigslist because we thought we had a good set of Firestones for it. And they came with the wheels, and we went down, and they were down south of LaPorte. We went and got them, and got them home, went to dismount them to put new tubes in and paint the rims, and basically one of the beads tore clean off the tire, so we ended up having to find a different set of tires. And in that whole process, well, actually I should back up a little bit. This is actually the second iteration of this grain cart, because originally when we built it, this second frame rail wasn't here. The box sat down on this rail, and the original tires that were on it were 23 1/16s off of a New Holland utility tractor. They were basically looked like they were big turf tires, big fat, and they were probably that much wider than these 18.4s. They were real fat, tall tires with a real little rim. The reason Dad bought those initially was because they kind of looked like the diamond tread tire that you see on a lot of grain carts, so it was kind of a look deal. And the first year we had this thing, we ran it, found out the tires weren't worth a shit in soft ground, and it was a little too low. So that's where this iteration came about. And then we bought, so back to the tire story. Dad knocked the original centers out because we needed to, the rims fit, but the tires were almost too close to the frame. So Dad wanted to adjust the offset in it, so I whacked the original centers out and had these centers laser cut, because originally it just had a regular stamped four spoke implement center, tractor rim center with a, they were basically combine rims is what they were. So we welded in this solid steel center, which made it again look a little bit more like a grain cart rim. And then we went through, added this second frame rail to raise it up more, and it also strengthened the frame quite a bit. The auger is off of an Oliver 70 or a white 7300 combine. We got it at a junkyard over in Ohio. And then the drive pulley down there, and then you can't see it now, but the drive pulley in here is the same one. It's all off an Oliver. All the drive line off this is off an Oliver combine or white combine. And the way we got it set up is you got the pulley here on the outside of the box. The belt wraps around, goes down, then wraps around to the pulley there. Made it hydraulic fold, and it's got a flow restrictor on it so that the auger won't slam down when you open or when you close it, and it won't slam open when you open it. And it also that flow restrictor also acts as a pressure relief, so if you ever hook the auger on something, it'll blow the oil past relief and the auger will just unfold instead of trying to bend. Man, it's windy outside. Windy and freaking cold. So we got all that work done to it, and actually when we went through and did the rebuild on it was right before Ran Tool 2 shows ago. Jake will have to confirm that, because it was the first year I met him down there that was the first year we had this down here. It was the year he had a 7800 down there, so that should have been two shows ago, so 4 years ago. We had to decide what color we wanted to paint it, and Dad was just going to paint it green and white to match the tractors, and I had to go down to the case dealer we used to have in LaPorte. Can't remember, I had to get a belt or chisel plow. I had to get something down there, and it had a Kinze 840 cart sitting there on the lot, and I was looking at it, and it's like, well, shit. I mean, it ain't an exact replica, but this thing looks a lot like that Kinze 840, so I came home and was like, Dad, why don't we paint that thing up like a Kinze? So he went through and we tried matching the paint as best we could. This is actually old. This is the same Ford blue that Kinze first started painting his equipment, because the first Kinze stuff was kind of an orange color, and then he painted it this Ford blue, which was the same color as the pickup truck he had at the time. So this is actual old Kinze blue, or Ford. I can't remember exactly what Ford color it is, but it's Ford color, but it's the original Kinze. It's got and then the white is all powder coated. And like I say, it's kind of just a project that got a little bit out of hand. This year we finally got all the lights working on it. It's got tail lights that'll flash on the tractor, and then the way they're wired up, it's got a regular seven prong trailer plug in it. And the way we wired the plug up, when you plug it into a pickup truck, these things will flash and they'll come on when you hit the brakes. So if you ever have to pull up behind a truck, you got brake lights. It's got the auger, or light on the auger. It's got a light in the tank. And then just for shits and giggles, to make it more realistic, we whacked out this oval here and put plexiglass in it, so you got a sight glass into it. And then it's also got a screen in it. Hopefully you can see that. It's really freaking dark in here. The auger in it, or the cross auger underneath, is brand new. Dad bought pipe, and then he bought left and right hand auger flighting, and we made because the original auger in it just ran all the way back, and it was smaller, and the flighting on it was shit. So, and we needed a left right hand flight to draw everything to the center into the main auger. So it's got a brand new auger in it with brand new flighting, custom made. We took that center brace right there, and originally it went almost all the way to the bottom, and we whacked it off and bent a flange on it so it was shorter, but we still had a center support in there. Added this pipe across it to support the screen. And the one thing we found out, especially this year, in some of that, it really became apparent in that first choice corn I had, because it held a lot more leaves on it. But it's a little hard to get trashy corn through this, and it wasn't terribly trashy, but like I had a lot of stuff with the tops blown out of it, so there was little short chunks of stalk that got in here that I tried getting out, but yeah, it's a story for another time. But one of these days I'll have to talk about how I set the combines up, and I'll explain that. But anyway, Dad's gonna get rid of this. This is 1x1 grid screen. He's gonna go through and put 2x2 in it, and that should eliminate that problem. We had issues with the corn building up and not sifting through the screen real good because of that, getting that chunks of stalk in there. But so, and like I say, there's the trailer plug. It's got hydraulic, or the wiring is pulled through the frame. Hoses are run along the frame, and they're all tied up. We got bowled, and it doesn't have any sort of slip clutch or shear pin or anything on it, but even in wet corn, we've never had an issue with this thing unloading. It'll start with a full auger like nothing. And there's only two things that, and one of them might get added here in the future, because this thing's still kind of a work in progress. We're still finding stuff we want to change, but like I say, it's a project that got out of hand, and it's still getting out of hand. But it would have been nice, and this part will probably never change, just because it kind of is what it is, but it would be nice if that auger was about 1.5 feet longer to get up over the center of the truck. But we were trying to build it proportional to the cart, and so that it unloaded better, we wanted it to be in the center of the box instead of a front auger. But in order to get that to work and miss a tire, it had to come out at an angle. But that angle, we're probably only losing about 6 inches of height, not really a lot. And we didn't want to make it too much longer, because it already, when it's folded up, sticks a good 1.5 feet, 2 feet past the back of the cart. And we didn't want to have to worry about running it into anything or something like that with that extra length hanging back there. So Right now the auger just kind of is what it is, and it is the long auger, because this one's longer than the one on my 7300. This was the optional auger for it. This one was the back fold, not the front fold. But yeah, like I say, it'd be nice if the auger was a little longer, but it is what it is, and it works good. And about the only way we can get away with putting a longer one on it is we have to make it a double fold. Yeah, no, that's just getting way, way out of hand. And the other thing that'd be nice is it needs to have a grain gate in it right here, so that when you have to run a partial load out to top the truck off, you can shut the corn off and run the auger empty and be able to fold the auger back up. Because right now you can't really fold the auger up with a half a load on the cart, because the auger will still be full of corn. So that might be something that actually does get added at some point, but we'll see. It comes a point where you just got to quit, because it really does get out of hand. But like I say, when we got it all painted up and everything, it was literally 2 weeks before ran tool, and we got it painted and we got the last coat of paint and got it all put together like 2 days before ran tool, because that was our deadline to get it in the state you see it now, minus the lights. We wanted to get it ready for that ran tool show 2 or 4 years ago. So, and then the model number, since we were painting it up like a 40 series cart, we came up and just model 140, because if you do the math to the top of the top extensions, it holds like 115, 120 bushel, and in beans, that's about all I can get on it. But in corn, since corn will stack, I can get about 125, 130 bushel in it, stacking it. So the model number's about right. And like I say, we were kind of modeling it to match the Kinze model series. And then we had a decal guy in town here copied the Kinze logo from that series of cart. So that's an actual copy of a Kinze decal. There's one on front and one on back, and on those carts, this is where it would have been, was right here off on one side. And if I remember right, back here, it's on the opposite corner. Yeah, they were Kenny corner from each other. So yeah, that's basically the little Kinze cart. This thing always seems to be the star of the show. Everybody always asks about it. Man, that first year we had it down to ran tool, I couldn't tell you how many guys come up and said, "So is that like the first grain cart Kinze ever built?" Well, no, it's kind of the one we just built. But and then the other comment that nobody ever actually said, but I'd be sitting on the tractor kind of listening to the conversations of people around us, and there was a lot of guys would look down here and say, "Well, man, at some point they must have cut a corner hard and bent that tongue." No, actually, we took these two beams, set them up in a shop press, put a little heat to them, and bent them so that they'd come together and form a square like this. We actually bent that tongue on purpose. So, because that's one pair, both those rails all the way back to the axle are one piece. And then they come up here, welded them together for strength. And then this hitch clevis is actually, Dad found this on the internet. It's a cast hitch clevis. I can't remember what kind of tongue load that thing's rated for, but it's a damn heavy clevis, and that's the small one. I want to say it's rated for like a 2,500 or a 3,000 pound tongue load, which is more than this cart will ever see on it, which is why we bought that, because that's stronger than anything we could have fabricated. And then it's adjustable too, but we only ever run it on basically one tractor. So although it's been run, my 1955s run it. It's been run on a 1655, and if you go back to all the way back on my video pages to the very first page, I think it's like third or fourth video I ever made, it's just called Oliver 525 in corn. You'll see the first generation of this grain cart behind my buddy, or behind the 1655. I don't farm with them. I don't even hang out with them guys anymore for reasons we won't talk about. But so it's been pulled by my 1955 because that first year we had this thing built, was the year we had to mud out everything. And it was also the first year I put them rice and canes on the 525, and we basically just needed a tractor that would manhandle this thing. And there was times where we were almost dragging it on the frame with my 1955. It was so muddy. But and then it's been pulled by my 1600, and now we run it on the 1800. And the very, 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 very first time we ran it, it didn't have any extensions on it, and the auger was still manual fold because Dad hadn't got the hydraulics set up on it yet, but we needed the cart. I pulled it with my 66 because originally that was what Dad kind of sized it to, was the 66 and the 77. But we very quickly found out that even at a half load, which, I mean, at the time it was just this part of the box, the V, even with that much corn in it, which is probably 60, 70 bushel, it was way more than what a 66 wanted to handle, because it'd pull it fine. It had plenty of horsepower, but the front end would be bobbling the whole time I was pulling it. But it sounded cool pulling that cart loaded up a hill, I tell you what. And that's the other thing that we found it out the first time we had to pull it with my 1955 is on the bigger tractors, especially that one, because it's a little wider with them fender tanks on it. Because originally, and I guess I told you wrong, originally this right here was the frame rail. And these two came up and met at a point, and we had this clevis on there. And I think originally the end of the tongue was right about in here. I think yeah, it was right here, because it would have been right here because we added this 2 foot of tongue. And when we if you had to cut a corner short, you buried the rear tire right into the corner here, and Dad actually wasn't paying attention the first time he ran it, and he bent one of the idler pulleys we got here on the corner. But so that was what we did. Sorry for the screw up. It's been so long since we built this thing, I honestly can't remember. I wish we'd had more. I wish I'd have been doing YouTube at that point, because I'd have taken more video of building it and I'd have a little more detail for you. But that's what we did, is we added this lower frame, because this is the original frame. Sorry, I forgot. So, and then that was the other reason for going up to them 18.4 26s, is A, with the R1 tread design, it pulls better, and it pulls really good in the mud. And B, it raised it up quite a bit. So, and for those that want to see it, it'll be, at least as far as I know, we're taking it to Rantoul this coming year. Kind of wouldn't be Rantoul without it. We're hoping one of these days that, because normally John Kinzenbaugh kind of frequents that show a little bit, and the last 2 times he hasn't been there. Because I think last year he was at the Farm Progress show or something, and the year before that I think was some family issues or something like that. But basically we hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Alright, sorry about that. So, anyway, yeah, John Kinzenbaugh. We were hoping one of these times we're going to catch him at Rantoul, and Dad wants to have him sign it somewhere. Have John Kinzenbaugh's name, and then put a piece of, I can't remember what shit's called. It's like a clear plastic vinyl stuff that you stick over decals to protect them. Chip guard. Put chip guard over it. Just so we can have a Kinze grain cart that John Kinzenbaugh signed. But we have yet to catch him, so hopefully one of these days. We were just hoping he wasn't going to sue us for using his name on a cart, but we figured since we weren't buying them or building them to sell. But anyway, that's just a little bit of a story on the Kinze cart, so I can't really do a whole lot else today because it's kind of shitty. It's been snowing all day, and luckily none of it's stuck, but the ground's finally starting to tack up, so I feeling we're supposed to get more snow tonight. I got a feeling if we do, we might wake up to some white ground. Kind of weird how I was power washing combines in a t-shirt yesterday, and today it's like 30-something degrees. So, anyway, I guess, and Desert Fish, I'm going to catch you guys on the next one.